Now I'd like to share some notable multicultural titles with you. I've divided them according to certain categories of multicultural literature. The first category is probably the most obvious, and that is literature that celebrates culture and ethnicity. American Born Chinese by Jean Yang is a graphic novel that does a really good job of talking about the Chinese American student. In this story, there are basically three subplots. The main one has Jin Wang trying to fit in when his family moves to a new area, and he finds that he's the only Chinese American student in his school. When he is picked on, he of course wants to change himself to be more like other students. Later, a new Taiwanese student, Wai Chen, moves in the neighborhood, and he wants to be Jin's friend. But Jin avoids it at first, because that just makes him more Chinese. Eventually, though, he and Wei Chen become friends. In the second plot, Monkey King wants to rule the world, but when he is shunned by the other great mystical god leaders because he doesn't wear shoes, he decides to change himself to be more like them. See the parallel? His arrogance and unwillingness to be happy with himself leads him into a mountain of trouble. A third storyline has Chen Qi as a stereotypical Chinese boy who comes to visit his cousin Danny. As far as Danny is concerned, Chen Qi finds a way to ruin his life each and every time he visits, and he has had it. Believe it or not, these three storylines come together to create a great story of acceptance and understanding of the things that Chinese American students might face here today. In Crossing the Wire by Will Hobbs, Victor has become the man of the house. You see, his father was killed in a freak accident while working in the United States. Victor has tried to support his family by raising crops and selling them. But when the local representative tells Victor that once again this year his corn will sell for almost nothing, Victor has a dilemma. He knows he has to do something, and after considering all of his options, he realizes that the only real thing he can do to keep his family afloat is to cross the wire into the United States as an illegal immigrant and find work that will allow him to support his family. Will Victor be successful? You'll have to read Crossing the Wire to find out. If any of you are NFL football fans, you may have heard of a young man by the name of Michael Oher who played offensive line for Ole Miss and was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft this year. In his book, The Blind Side: Evolution of a Game, Michael Lewis tells the true story of Michael Oher, who was not always destined to be a pro football player. In fact, Michael Oher was one of 13 kids living in poverty with a drug-addicted mother. But by a series of coincidences, he ends up taking up school and football and being rescued from the streets by a wealthy white family in Memphis. He was a virtual unknown, and yet his new family's love and his natural football ability catapulted him to the top of most major college recruiting lists and changed his life forever. His story is an unbelievable, unforgettable story of everything that is good in the world. One of the best multicultural books I've ever read that's written primarily for middle school students is Becoming Naomi Leon by Pam Munez Ryan. In this story, Naomi, Soledad Leon Outlaw, and her brother Owen have been raised by their great-grandmother. Up until the day that her long-lost mother knocked on the trailer's door, Naomi's biggest problem was her last name that the boys at school constantly mocked. When Mom arrives at the door, she takes a sudden interest in Naomi, who she sees as a nice babysitter for her new boyfriend's child. And she wants nothing to do with Owen, who he himself has several physical disabilities. When Naomi's grandmother realizes what's going on and determines that the motives of Naomi's mother are not good, she makes the decision to take Naomi and Owen to Mexico to escape her mother and try to locate the father they haven't seen for more than 7 years. One of the best parts of this book is their trip to Mexico, where Naomi and Owen get to experience their culture firsthand at Christmas time. And it's a great celebration of culture. Another great multicultural story, but this one would primarily be for high school students, is Sold by Patricia McCormick. In this story, Lakshmi lives with her family in Nepal. The family is just getting by when a monsoon comes through and destroys the crop for the year. Her good-for-nothing stepdad, who spends his time gambling and drinking, tells her that she will need to leave to support the family by taking a job. She believes that she's being hired out to a wealthy family to do household work, but instead she slowly discovers the unthinkable. She's been sold into prostitution. She is confused and hurt. It's a terrible job. She doesn't know how to get away, and no matter what she does, nothing seems to work. She constantly looks for a way out, for a way to get home, but she suddenly realizes that she might be stuck in her new life forever, and she doesn't know if she can do it. A very sad story with a very young character, but very apropos to what goes on in different parts of our world. Home of the Brave by Catherine Applegate is a beautiful story told in poetry prose about a young boy by the name of Keck who comes to live in America from a refugee camp in Africa. He comes alone, as his father and his brother were killed in the violence there, and his mother has gone missing. Now Keck has been sent to Minneapolis to live with an aunt and a cousin. Life is tough in Minneapolis. English is different, and friends are hard to come by, but Keck won't quit. He believes that he will find his mother, and one day they will all be together and all be happy. In the meantime, he tries to make the best of things and finds a job working on the farm where he befriends a cow, one of his only friends. There's some great scenes in here when Keck tries to assimilate to the classroom and to the United States, and different things with his language that I think for middle school kids in particular is a really great way for them to get a real feeling of what it would like to be new someplace. Another focus of young adult literature in the multicultural genre is cultivating an understanding of people with disabilities. One great example of a multicultural book in this category would be The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Hatton. In this book, 15-year-old Christopher Boone, the main character, is autistic. He has a really hard time relating to people. He can't stand to be touched. He can't look people in the eye. Christopher is, however, very gifted, particularly in the area of mathematics. One day, Christopher's world starts to fall apart. His mother is gone, suddenly, and the neighbor's dog Wellington was killed. And it's Christopher who finds the dog, and in a very difficult scene, he returns the dog to the owner. And those that have any knowledge of autistic children know that this would be a very difficult thing for him to do. What makes matters worse is that, of course, he is immediately suspected of killing the dog. Christopher loves dogs, and he knows he didn't kill Wellington. So he decides to investigate, which requires him to step out of his comfort zone socially and also allows him to uncover the truth about his parents and their relationship. Can Christopher handle what he discovers? A good example of a title that would help build this kind of sensitivity in middle schoolers would be the book So Be It by Sarah Weeks. In this story, Heidi and her mother seem to have fallen straight from the sky. At least that's the story that Heidi's neighbor Bernadette tells her. Heidi's mom is mentally challenged. She basically has the mental capabilities of I'd say 3 or 4-year-old. She can't care for herself, so Bernadette helps out. Though life is okay, Heidi always feels a hole in her heart, not really knowing where she came from and whether she has other family. One day Heidi finds a clue. It's a photograph of her mother standing in front of a building. When Heidi does some research and she finds out where the building is located, she tries to contact the people there to find out more about her life, but they put her off. And Heidi believes that they have something to hide. Eventually, she decides that she's going to set out on her own and find out what she can about her life. To complete this lesson, please proceed to the video clip entitled Multicultural Literature Part 3, where you will learn more exciting new titles of multicultural literature for young adults.